Give you some reaction to one of our top stories you are seeing at the bottom of your screen there, the death of food expert extraordinaire and iconic chef Dora Sitole. I'm joined now by another celebrated chef, Siba Mtongana. Siba, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I imagine that you must have been hit hard by the news of the passing of Dora Sitole.
It is with a very heavy heart that we woke up this morning to the very sad news. I'm still in disbelief, to be honest. Mom Dorah was just such an amazing person. And when we speak of legends, it comes to food, icons, a doyenne, that is what she is. And she was at the brink of such great success because, as you may know, she had just celebrated 40 years of being in the industry with her new cookbook, which in itself was just so iconic, was getting a lot of traction, etc. So to hear such news, it's disheartening. It's really sad and ubuhlungu.
I imagine, Siba, that you must have looked up to her, right? What did she mean to you as someone who was following in the footsteps of, expressing yourself through the art of cooking and preparing recipes and experimenting? I imagine that she must have represented something of, a lighthouse for you, guiding you in your development.
She most certainly did. I remember when I was a food editor at Dorah magazine, we're very good friends. In fact, she was my mentor for quite a number of time, for a very long period of time. And we worked for Media 24, worked for the same company. She was in Joburg, was in Cape Town. And I remember as a youngster who was very ambitious and wanted, to break through in the industry and do great, mighty things. And I'd be frustrated with certain things that had absolutely nothing to do with the work itself, but rather the environment and the hurdles I had to go through as a young black woman at the time. She would be the person I would call and say, Mom D, I'm so frustrated with this. I don't understand this. How do I do it? How have you paved way in terms of this and that? And she was so generous with her time. Mom Dora was so generous with the time. She was very generous with just knowledge and information. If you were to call her and say you needed help with this and this and that, in terms of information, she would freely give. And I think that has been not only my experience, but in the experience of many youngsters who have come, after myself. And she, oh my goodness, she is really, really, really iconic. I'm very saddened to hear that she has passed on this morning.
And Siba, tell me about her contribution to South Africa's culinary culture and cuisine. What were some of her signature and expert dishes that you will remember her by?
Oh, first of all, she was Mom Dora was very silent, but also very much achieved in her own right. And I remember when we were food editors, she had her first cookbook and she was celebrating African flavors. She chose a number of countries around Africa where she really celebrated the food from there, and it was a very big hit even back then. So I'll always remember her as somebody who was very true to herself, even at the time of being the food editor for True Love magazine. Not only was she a food editor, but she went in to be the main editor of the magazine for quite a period of time. She was very true to herself, true to her heritage. You would find elements that were beautifully styled, that are African, and her food was just so beautiful and very soulful at the same time. So I'll always remember her as the first person I, as Siba, could see from afar, because I had no person in the media space that I could emulate. But when I found out about her, I was very happy. And, she was that and more: iconic, legendary, and a doyen of food. And I'm so happy that Eat Out Awards last year, where we last physically met, gave her, that recognition.
Yeah. Tell me, lastly, Siba, about conversations with her. Away from making the pots happen, what were conversations with her like? What was she passionate about? What were some of the fears that you knew that she held? And perhaps what were the things that made her happy?
She loved her family. She spoke a lot about her children and her husband. And I do know that the passing of her husband really had a great impact on her. She really, really, really loved her family. And I remember this one time, I think one of her grandkids was turning 1 or 2, and she posted that, and she was very, very, very happy. So if it was not food, it was most certainly, her family. And, and also growing youngsters. Mom Dorah was very much about growing youngsters, giving the knowledge and passing it on to the next generation. And she has done that tremendously well. And for that, really, really, we commend her, and may her soul really rest in peace.
Right, Siba, thank you so much for your generosity with your time. I can tell you're speaking from the heart. Thank you for sharing so generously, and may you find comfort, and our condolences to you as well there. That's Siba Mtongana, celebrity chef there, paying tribute to the late Dora Sitole.